Greetings, everybody. You are welcome to our platform, Social Work TV Africa. And greetings to you from Nigeria, Africa, and all over the world. It's indeed an amazing time. And in commemoration of the World Suicide Prevention Month, we are hosting this evening program. And the focus of today's program is poverty and suicide, the role of social workers. It's going to be a discussion. I want you to be part of us fully. Believe me, you are going to enjoy the session. And I have here with me great individual of highly esteemed persons and dignitaries that have been in the profession of social work for more than decades. There are panelists for today, and believe me, you are going to enjoy the session. And before they introduce themselves, by name, Adelodo Emmanuel. I'm a social worker. My first degree has been in social work. That's for past 5 years, and experienced social worker, not just by profession, but by passion. And as we see how to reduce the menace of suicide in our community, we are addressing this issue with the great team that we are having this evening. I'd like to welcome our panelists as they introduce themselves, starting from Dr. Umar Khadija. You're welcome, ma'am. Doctor, you're welcome. Okay, I think our network is not connecting now. Okay, I'd like to welcome Mr. Atonda for self-introduction. You're welcome, sir. All right. I don't know if any of them could hear me. Before I proceed into the discussion, please can you kindly introduce yourself or meet yourself and introduce yourself, please? As we proceed. You can proceed, sir.
Okay, my name is Atonda Bimbola Adenina, medical social worker from University College Hospital Ibadan, Oyo State, Nigeria. I'm an assistant director, and now I covered geriatric unit of the department with about 20 years experience.
Wow. You're highly welcome, sir. Good to have you on board. And we're excited to have you because we know you'll be exposed to your experience and knowledge in the field of profession. Better view into the matter that I'll be discussing this evening. You're highly welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Have your self-introduction.
I can't hear you again.
Doctor, can we hear yourself? Dr. Umar Khadija. I think our audio is poor currently. We are going to proceed with the live session. Like I said earlier on, we'll be discussing on suicide and poverty, the roles of social workers. This session is going to be full of discussion relating to that, and our panelists will be responding to this discussion as I'll bring up some issues. I'll be your moderator for today, like I said earlier on, and by name Adelodu Emmanuel. Like we are known, suicide is one taking is alive. Taking one's life, that's what suicide is all about. And today we are looking at what could be the reason for in which people are taking their life without just cause. And how can this be prevented? What are the roles of social workers? And we'll be looking at other aspects that relate to suicide prevention. Though it will not only be limited to poverty, but this evening we are focusing mainly on poverty, while other related issues will be addressed by our panelists. And from our followers and listeners, if you have any question, kindly drop it on the chat box and to be addressed by our panelists. Mr. Atunda, the question that I'd like to ask you is this: how does poverty affect people's mental? How does poverty really affect people's mental health? Because we have described that suicide itself is as a result of mental health issues. I'd like you to give us elaborate discussion on this. How does poverty affect people's mental health? Does it make them to be mentally stable? And how does this work? You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. Poverty is when somebody couldn't avoid some basic needs to sustain his life or his family too. And when somebody is living lower according to the dictates of livelihood, so we say that person is poor. Maybe in forms of money, we use money to as a yardstick. And before somebody can be poor, we can say maybe that person is jobless. For somebody to be jobless, you know what it takes. That is a very serious problem. That person wouldn't be able to at least take proper care of his life, even the family. And that will become problem. It will affect every part of his system. One will not be thinking normally again. And if care is not taken, that person will not be able to sleep well. And if somebody cannot sleep for about 2-3 days, yes, that person will be depressed. That means that person will be having a sort of mild depression. And if care is not taken, if it gets to a full-blown depression, that person might be thinking suicide. Because even in the family or in the society, it is an aberration for somebody not to be able, maybe an adult person that is able, who don't even provide for himself, talk less of his family. So it will become a serious problem for that person. And if that happens, if care is not taken, then that person will be thinking suicide. Unless that person is in an environment where he has people that can be counseling him, or people that can just bring succor to his problem. That might lead to a very serious problem. And it is now incumbent on a social worker, if there is any in the community, at least to take charge. But now, let me just use Nigeria as an example. Now, we have so many people that are poor now. Even we have some graduates now, master's degree, that are riding Okada. Okada rider, a graduate riding Okada in Nigeria. And you see, maybe because of the position or situation we find ourselves, some are still coping. But for some that couldn't cope, then they will be thinking otherwise. And the next thing is that they will develop mental illness. And in mental illness, you say there is no health without mental health. That means it is not only the absence of illness that shows that somebody is okay, that somebody is healthy. So it has to entail both socio-economic and other things it's encompassing. So if one couldn't maybe fulfill all these things, then one would say that person is poor. And even the central bank, the World Bank uses, I think, monetary aspects to even as a maybe lifeline. If somebody is earning, according to World Bank, he said, somebody is earning maybe less than $1.90, that person is poor. But in Nigeria, they say is $5.50, that person is poor. But I think, to me, I would not even agree. Because if you see the rate of Naira to a dollar now, you will see that we are not living at all. We are not living, we are only existing. Many people are existing in Nigeria. And let me just use this as an example again. The ASU strike has already even contributed immensely to the poor condition of parents. Some parents who maybe by what they do, maybe look for school fees to pay. Now for the past 8 months now, there is strike. The students are back home and they are not doing anything. And some have turned to Okada riding, some have gone to maybe to go and learn a particular trade. Those who cannot do that are now under the roof of their parents and they are still being fed by their parents. So you can now see the situation that when one is poor, when we say poor, there are so many things. It's not maybe putting food on your table alone. You can afford education, you can afford shelter, you can afford clothing. Then you can now see that there is problem. Then what is the difference between a flagrant psychotic that is roaming the street and a man who couldn't even afford all these things? Then you see if somebody is poor, then we might say it is relative. Yes, because a rich man, maybe that he cannot even maybe do some things. If you get to him now, he will say, I am poor. But he has money, but maybe that money is not enough. But what we are now saying to now say that somebody is poor, yes, that means that thing is overwhelming. The poverty is overwhelming and is taking a very serious on that person. So we can now say that person is poor. And it is now incumbent on social workers now to come around, at least to bring succor to that person. And there will be a relief because the role of a social worker are many. I don't think whether I can continue. Hello?
You can hold on, sir. Thank you for that.
Okay, sir.
Clear, light you have shed on that aspect.
Okay,
Poverty,
sir.
as a matter of fact, in Nigeria is now a serious problem, and due to the situation of things in the country, considering ASU strike and other things, and this automatically has affected the mental health of average Nigerian. And if care is not taken, it can lead to flow, serious issues that can lead to suicide. While you're board, you are highly welcome. So, the audio in your place is not too clear. It's not too clear.
How's it now?
Clear?
Okay. Is it better now?
Okay, it's better now. It's better now. All right. I don't know if doctor is able to connect to our audio for her to also introduce herself as we proceed in this discussion.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Do you get the question?
Again.
Okay, what are the roles of mental health practitioner or entrepreneur or social workers in preventing the prevalence of poverty among especially the youth?
Alright. So I must first say that mental health workers or social workers or people cannot prevent poverty. Poverty cannot be prevented by another individual. It's a personal thing. The best that mental health advocates or social workers can do is to encourage people to get another source of living and to give them hope so that they don't give up. Once there is hope in life and once people can get hope, they can keep improving on themselves. But there are a lot of people that have ideas that can turn to money. But because they are depressed, because they don't have what it takes, they give up easily. So what we usually tell people is we give them hope. That's what social workers and mental health advocates can do. We give people hope. And this time we can hear another voice. I'm actually a God, and I'm on my way to Lagos. I'm actually in the airplane. I'm inside the airplane. That's why I'm taking this question. That's why I'm having a bit of noise. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you all hear me? Hello? Can I keep talking?
We can hear you, but not perfectly clear.
Okay, I said the best that mental health workers can do is to give people hope and encourage them. That's the best you can do. Encourage people not to give up. Encourage people not to give up because you cannot help somebody to overcome poverty. It's not possible. The best I tell them is as long as they say there's life, they can change something better. They can develop their ideas, they can look for other means of getting money. But there's no way you can help somebody to overcome poverty. It can't happen. And that is because it's a personal thing. The best I can do for you is make sure that you don't give up on yourself. Or the person does not see you. I keep giving you hope, I keep encouraging you. Social workers can keep giving you hope, keep encouraging them, keep telling them that they fail. Keep showing them the reason why they need to fight. Because everybody is fighting. And keep getting better. That is the best that we can do. The only way we can overcome poverty is when you as a person see the reason to do and you fight it and you keep doing more. That is the best that we can do. You understand?
Yes. Thank you for that contribution. For what is being said, there is no way individual can be able to overcome poverty. It is a personal choice and personal decision. But still, mental health professionals or advocates could give individual support and succor to help. Thank you. All right. For our delegate, I will suggest we are unable to follow through all your conversation due to the background audio that is interfering with your communication. Maybe when you're in a good place, you can let us know so that we can take your contribution for clearer communication. I would like to welcome Mr. Atonda. I'd like to welcome Mr. Atonda again. Looking at poverty and considering suicide, I would like you to tell us more because I want to believe that poverty is not limited to finance and there are other things that are involved. Lack of money may not be the only reason for poverty. And some are having poverty of idea, and we are seeing some so-called celebrities that have the so-called money, but still they indulge in suicide. Now, what are the other things or other aspects, of poverty that could lead to suicide? What are other forms of poverty, which is not limited to financial poverty, that could lead to suicide? I'd like you to shed more light on that.
YASW hierarchy of needs,
Okay.
1943, which indicates that physiological needs such as food, clothing, shelter, and sleep are essential components to quality of life. And these areas are constantly evaluated and tended to when working with clients. Now, apart from monetary aspect of it, even though it is money, because money answers everything and it's top nonsense. Yes. But when one is not, maybe couldn't go to school, it is due to lack of fund too. Lack of fund. Then when you finish school, unemployment too. Because we have, as I've said before, we have jobless graduates. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you, sir.
The rate of unemployment in Nigeria is quite enormous now. We have jobless graduates, and they are roaming the streets. And that is why the rate of crime is still at alarming rate in the country. And it is because of poverty too. Because when you see somebody that is a graduate and is underemployed, it is a sign of poverty too. Maybe a graduate that is now taking employment of maybe 20,000 per month or 30,000 naira per month. It means that person is underemployed. So automatically, if that person is not fulfilled, that person can be thinking suicide because he has other friends, his colleagues that are around him, and they are okay, perfectly okay. They have their own house, they have their own cars, they have children, they are married. Many graduates cannot marry today because they couldn't be able to cope. They can't take care of themselves, talk less of now having a wife and then start rearing children. So this is another way of maybe one can say somebody is poor. Then the health challenges can also make one poor. When you are incapacitated, then you say that person is poor too because of his health condition. That person is poor. Now we have some physically challenged. Now they can be employed because of their health condition. Can we say they are okay? They are also poor. So there are so many areas we can look that can say, okay, this person is poor. Hello?
We have time too, sir.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's just it. And you see, even in some areas now, let me use Ibadan as an example. Some part of Ibadan, for example, there are some areas now that can be referred to as ghetto or slum. That even there's just a slight difference between those people who live there and people who are maybe in dungeon or people who are roaming the streets. There's just a slight difference that when you get there, now see that these people are living in abject poverty because of the area. And so many things can even contribute to this because of this. Maybe we have flood, maybe in some part of Ibadan the other time, even some towns or some states in Nigeria too, they've already witnessed this flood, are now in problem because the flood has scattered in their properties. So, and it has rendered them maybe in a state of abject poverty. So many things can be considered, at least maybe as being poor. It's not only the money. Again, at times you have money, but you can't get something to buy. Yes, that person too, we can say, that is sign of poverty. Again, sign of poverty. Or when we say the state of economy is imbalanced in the country, now, plenty money pursuing small thing. Now, okay, yes, that is the way it can be better. Again, like the other speaker said the other time, that is being poor is a matter of choice. But I can say I won't agree with that 100% because even the state of economy that is caused by government can even turn some people to be poor. So government can even contribute to the poverty level of every individual, maybe in the society. So automatically, one can now say it is not money again alone. Though if you are employed, you have money. If you are not employed, you can't have money. So there is no way we cannot even link it to money. Again, though money is not everything, as I've said. If one is not healthy now, you have money, you are not healthy. So automatically, you are incapacitated. So one can be incapacitated maybe in a diverse ways. This you can't fulfill all these things. Then one can. Hello? Hello?
We are with you, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I've already concluded that yes, it is not money alone. I talk about education. I talk about shelter. I talk about sleep. Maybe if somebody cannot even maybe get a place to put his or her head. Like in Nigeria now, you have to build your own house. I've not traveled to US or UK, but I know over there now, at least no matter, regardless of the condition you find yourself, at least you still have a place, at least to reside. If one is not a fake grant, government will provide accommodation. Hello?
Hello, we can
I'm
hear
hearing
you,
you.
sir.
I'm hearing you.
Okay. Thank
Yes,
you
I'm
for,
hearing you.
Okay, thank you for giving us insight to that, which means to an extent, in Nigeria, there's less social support, especially from the ends of the government. And these have made the poverty level to be so terrible on individuals. And from study and from experience, we've discovered that social workers, we are change agents. And that's why we are coming on board. Social workers are change agents. Now, from the discussion now, the poverty level is very high. Individuals, they are being exposed to poverty. And as social worker, you have to come in between. Individual or many individuals are experiencing poverty. Thus, should we allow them to cross over to suicide or should we retain them? So I'd like you to tell us more. What are the basic things social worker can do to save the life of individuals from committing suicide, despite this high level of poverty in the nation? What are the key things, looking at the area of empowerment, social support, what are those basic steps
Hello?
that I don't want to bet because every individual is important. Just as
You
change
said the role
agents,
of social workers. Yes.
change agents
Yes.
to help this
Agent.
individual.
Yes.
Yes, poverty is on the
Yeah.
high side. How can we
Okay.
come
Yes.
in, to surface the situation? What are the practical steps social worker could take? We know the problem is already on ground. We can't avoid it. But what are the steps we can take to prevent individuals from going to suicide as a result of poverty? I don't know if you get the question, sir.
Yes, I get it. Yes. Thank you very much. Yeah, as change agent, if you see, let me use Nigeria as a case study. We have youth development, then we have social welfare, then we have maybe the hospital where we want to see in places where we have social workers. We have some social workers that are community-based social workers. And are you hearing me?
Yes.
Hello?
Can hear you perfectly, sir.
At the social, yes, yeah, at youth centers, that is where they learn, they teach our youth how not to depend solely on white collar job, how they can fend for themselves. That is where they do that. They catch them young there. So I have social workers there too. They're working there to at least to make sure that they don't depend solely on government. They don't depend on white collar job. They learn something so as to maybe solve some problems and to live a very fulfilling life. So social workers, yes, they create awareness too. They create awareness. There are so many businesses that are bound now in the community now. It is not only the certificate that is matter now. Some can, as social workers, we can even let our youth to know that they can even go into ICT. Some are now creating apps now, and they are getting a lot of money there. Like my children now, I have a master degree holder, among them one first degree, then the other two undergraduates. Three of them they've learned tailoring, and one has learned catering. So as soon as they are in holiday, that's what they do. That's what they do. Now, I think as social workers, they can also go into the community to organize people into maybe groups and be giving them awareness on how not to depend solely on government, because we are having problem, and it is not pertinent to Nigeria alone. The bigger the head, the bigger the headache. So we can create that awareness. Then again, social worker can also be act as advocate. Yes, we can speak on behalf of the poor people of these youths again. How not to be idle. Yes, we can synthesize government too, at least to create job for our jobless graduates. Then that thing can happen because there are so many things that is happening in some communities now. Yes, we can divide them into various groups, and then on how they can maybe helping themselves, then they can learn a trade, learn a craft too. So these are the roles social worker can play in order to reduce poverty and then to reduce suicide. Then social workers can also intervene as maybe in the environmental and relationship, recognizing effects of the psychological, socio-economic, and cultural determinants on well-being and health. Yes, we can tell them this, because if somebody is poor, that person will not be able to live a good life. And if he doesn't live a good life, automatically he can be thinking, and depression can set in. Then it is the duty of the social worker to reassure them. That is reassurance in social work. You reassure them that there is still hope, that they can still lay their hands on something. Like I've said the other time, there are some graduates in providing appropriate and targeted services to meet their complex psychological needs of clients, and thereby help to reduce poverty by educating their clients to learn a craft. Yes, they can learn a craft. You don't depend on the certificate alone. We have, like in my own, hello?
Yeah, with you,
Yes,
sir.
like in my whole unit now, geriatric where I belong now, they are having a training now.
Okay.
They are having a training now. That is, they are training carers who are to be taking care of the elderly. And when we first started, we have maybe OND and then some school starts. But now we are now having graduates, even master's degree holders. I was even surprised that I even saw a medical doctor coming to be trained as a carer. Even though some of them would like to travel abroad. But, when you get there, maybe as a social worker, as a medical doctor, unless you pass their exam there, you can't be working like a professional there. There are some things you have to be doing to put food on your table. So one cannot feel shy. And that is the role of social worker, at least to make our youth to come out of their shell and embrace other things. Yes, if you read economics, you can get work in the bank as a banker. Yes, you can learn other things that can be giving you at least food. So these are the areas social workers can be too. Then we can synthesize government too. Yes, we can synthesize government to at least to make sure they create job. I've said that the other time. Yes, they can create job for the youth, not to be idle, because an idle hand is a devil's workshop. And you know that one, even in the Bible, the Bible says uh, uh, there's no food for a lazy man. But
Exactly.
when you can't say somebody is lazy unless you have given that person job and it's not ready to do it. But it just looks as if government is making many people to be lazy now. And those who doesn't want to be lazy and they don't have any other way, then they now take to crime. And that is the reason you have this cyber crime too, because they want solutions to their problem. They want solutions to their problem. And then when they are caught, automatically they can even develop depression and they can commit suicide too. So it's not only when you are poor that can lead to depression and then maybe suicide. Yes, you know the other side, the initial stage. There are some other things that can lead to depression. Yes, when one is sick and you are maybe afraid to die, when one has mental illness, you are not poor, but that person have mental illness, which is depression. Yes, you can think suicide. When one is caught, maybe you involve yourself in a crime and you are caught. Yes, you can also commit suicide because you don't want to be exposed. Yes, it happens too. But the role of social worker is enormous. It is not even maybe limited to a particular aspect of life. It's all encompassing and it has to be holistic. So as social workers, we have to collaborate with other professionals to make sure things work normally, things work orderly. Because some people have job too. Their job cannot even give them enough money. And yes, they are having depression. So automatically, they will need social worker to talk them, to give them psychotherapy on how to cope.
Wow.
Unless you develop coping therapy, have a problem in Nigeria. Now, we are not having all this riot of the thing is because many people have developed coping therapy. And that is what is unique about Nigeria. Because what we are now passing through in the country now, I don't think any other neighboring country can pass through it without having maybe a sort of crisis. But we thank God that at least our youth are still coping. Some are coping, some who cannot cope, they are taken to other crime-related activities, as I've said, like cyber crime. So it is the duty of social workers, and I also use this medium too, at least to employ more social workers. Social workers, yes, community-based, hospital-based. Even we can have in schools too. Yes, secondary schools, universities, and all companies. It should be made compulsory too, even in industries, to employ social workers so as to help people who are passing through this psychological problem. So when they have social workers, I believe when they counsel them, when they talk them, they give them psychotherapy. Yes, this depression will minimize, this poverty will minimize, because they will teach them how to fish, how to make money, how to maybe embrace other craft to add to the one they are doing that is not enough. Then that suicide will also reduce, because it is not even written in the forehead. Somebody that is going to maybe commit suicide tomorrow, they won't write it on his forehead. But through this interaction, yes, because what people are passing through now is serious, very, very serious. You just hear somebody has committed suicide. And you know, Nigeria, I think there's a report I just read. They said we are now in the highest something now. about 17,000 people commit suicide, maybe in a year. I don't know. Either by killing themselves through drug, dumping into the river, maybe hanging. So it is the duty of the social workers to do this. So we just encourage our government to employ more social workers into all aspects of all parastatals, then community-based too. Then those of us who are social workers and we live in communities too, yes, we can even volunteer. Maybe in those of us who have built houses and we find ourselves in meetings of landlord and landladies, yes, we can organize sort of health work. Yes, health talk to members. Through this, yes, some people will now come out from their shell, they will speak their minds, and then we'll be able to counsel them or to refer them to clinical psychologists if it is beyond our own distance, or refer them to a psychiatrist that can maybe be of help. I think social work profession is enormous, and we have to wake up at least to help the needy. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Atunda. This is amazing. And indeed, with what you have said, social workers, we are indeed change agents. And with this, we can be able to restore the lost hope. As Adeleke said at that time, many people that are poor is majorly due to the issue of hopelessness. And through these activities by social workers, the hope can be restored.
I said we've been doing it and it's perfect. It's working effectively. Okay. We can say it's talking therapy. Even when I say psychotherapy now, everything is based on counseling. Even before the advent of this education, all these Oyibo people, all this education, yes, our people, they've been doing that. Yes, without, and it has no syllabus, no teacher, no classroom. It's talking therapy. When somebody is bereaved now, in Yoruba tradition, people will converge. They won't allow that person to him, maybe given all sorts of down. And they claim for 3, 4, 5 days, and they'll be rotating until that person gets out of that problem.
Sorry.
Hello, are you hearing me? Hello.
Along the
Hello.
line. Hello.
Hello.
Along the line.
Hello.
We hear you.
Hello. Hello. Are you hearing me? Hello.
No. Hello.
Sorry.
Along the line.
Yeah. Are you hearing me now? Are you hearing me now?
Yes.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes.
You can hear me now.
Yes, but along the line, we couldn't hear you. You were talking about the traditional psychotherapy, so to say.
Yes.
I'd like you to emphasize that again. How it works traditionally by the African method.
Yes. Yeah, I said educated will say psychotherapy. Definition of it is somebody is bereaved. Hello.
Hello. Hello. Sir.
Are you hearing me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, but not very clear, but I can hear you.
I said psychotherapy can mean talking therapy or counseling. And in tradition, Yoruba tradition, yes, they've been doing it. I said if somebody is bereaved, people will converge in that person's house. They will be rotating. They will be guiding that person. They will be bringing some stories that has happened in the past just to make sure they calm that person down. Exactly. They can say this is psychotherapy. They can bring some stories in the Bible, from the Quran, or from the environment. Hello?
Hello, we can hear you, sir.
Yeah, they can be doing this. So we are doing it without being aware of it. So psychotherapy is effective, very, very effective. And before a social worker can do this effectively, that social worker has to be a learned person, has to understand the rudiment, the ABC, and has to have the local intelligence. Because if you're an Hausa, the way you maybe give that psychotherapy, you are not an Hausa person. Now you might not be able to communicate well. You have to have that local intelligence too, because you can't give what you don't have. So you have to prepare yourself. And that is the reason we show empathy and not sympathy. Social worker will put himself or herself into the problem of that person. And then you feel that problem. That is the time you will know how it pinches and you'll be able to now guide that person. And again, yes, without leaving that person, you tell stories, give so many things, some instances, and how that person has come over it. There's one thing I want to use. Hello, sir.
Okay. And I'm with you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. There's one story. There's one story in Yoruba. I'll just maybe relate in English. They said, what counseling will you give to somebody that leopard killed her mother or his mother? What psychotherapy, what counseling will you give to the person that his mother was
killed by leopard?
Yes, you are still alive now. If your mother was killed by leopard when you were still maybe in his womb, what would have happened? You are now surviving your mother, and then what your mother didn't do to even live more than your mother. So there is nothing that will happen that people or the Yoruba will not have a sort of counseling, a sort of advice home their points. So psychotherapy is very, very effective, very, very effective. And you do it one after the other. If that person is now maybe coming out of the problem now, yes, coming out of problem, you know, it can start where he stopped. If somebody developed mental illness and was sad, maybe because of that he was sad, or maybe he was sad because of his non-performance, then he developed mental illness. Either way, now you know that person can be thinking suicide. Yes. But by the time you are now given psychotherapy, you are given similar instances that has happened in the past. That person can be coming out of that problem gradually. Then you have to make sure, because that person cannot even start where he stopped. Yes.
That's very true.
It's just like when you are just putting corn at the back of a calabash. It won't just hold it to just be scattering around. So that is just it. But if that person is now coming out, that person is now coming out, at least it's now getting better. The relapse is now maybe fading away. That person is now coming up now. Then you can give effective psychotherapy. But I've said that person cannot be able to start where he stopped. It has to be gradual. It has to be gradual. Even if he has to go to work, if he's a supervisor there, he can't go there and be supervisor or be doing things on our own. He has to be under the supervision of another person so that he will not commit problem. If the person is a medical doctor and a surgeon for that matter, so he has to be under the tutelage of another experienced surgeon so that he won't go there and commit homicide. So that is just it. But what I've said is that psychotherapy is effective and it's working. So it depends on who is given it. If that person is well versed in the rudiment of psychotherapy and that person has local intelligence and that person is experienced and that person is well read, automatically will be able to give effective psychotherapy and it will work perfectly.
Wow. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this session with you. The network has really been affecting everyone. And we are going to wrap up the session now. And the conclusion of the matter is this. Poverty is prevalent in our community, and that has led to mental health challenges. but social workers are change agents. And as change agents, we can bridge the gap between poverty and suicide by coming in different and many ways. And one of the main aspects you can come in, we have talked about the training, empowerment, and advocate. And the main one that was being emphasized is the issue of psychotherapy. And we have been told that it's very, very important. And one of our listeners, panelists, has told us about the issue of hopelessness. Now, in the course of psychotherapy, the hope can be restored to individual. Mr. Atendas, thank you so much for your time. Kudos, I really appreciate it. Before we come to the end of the session, I don't know if you have a wrap-up statement before we round up this session, maybe a word for all the social worker participants as touching this topic.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, as I've been saying, I think as social workers, yes, we need to even move closer to our clients and make sure we help to reduce poverty by eradicating their maybe poverty, yes, by making sure we reduce poverty, and then through psychotherapy we reduce suicide. Then this could also, by our all this in, it could also alleviate their poor condition and thereby reduce suicide. And I believe if government can just stand to their responsibility, I believe their the hope of poor at least will still be rekindled, and then there will be hope for hopeless. And I believe by so doing, then people will now be able to enjoy a good livelihood. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much.
Hello?
I wish this session can continue, but we just have to wrap it up now. Thank you, Mr. Atonga, and that is amazing session. And hope when else we invite you, you'll be available to dish more to us from your wealth of experience.
No problem, sir.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll be rounding up this session now from the Young African Social Worker Nigeria chapter and on Social Work Africa TV. We have brought to you today poverty and suicide, role of social workers. And from the discussion we have been told, social worker, we are change agents and we can really bridge the gap, though poverty is enormous. Poverty is prevailing, but yet we can survey the life of individuals from committing suicide through various skills and activity that we can carry out. And one of it is psychotherapy. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating. And the discussion is still ongoing. Feel free to drop your question on the chat box. And if there's any other thing, we are going to respond accordingly. Thank you.